if you're a law firm owner, if you're a criminal defense law firm owner, you ask yourself, is your law firm, you say, is my law firm prepared for the future with the changes coming? If you want to know the answer, tune in and find out.
You are listening to the Prosperous Law Podcast. Learn how to reduce stress, have more time, and make more money. Come on in.
I'm Greg McCollum, and I built a 7-figure criminal defense law firm. I formed Prosperous Law to show criminal defense law firm owners who are desperate for success how to grow from under $200,000 to $1 million and beyond. In terms of our law firms, a lot of people, myself included, I want to be on the cutting edge. I want to have the latest technology, the best systems, the best marketing systems, the best customer experience. I want to be a company that lasts. I want to be a company that can ride out the storms. I want to be a company that can grow over years and grow over 5-year periods and grow over decades. And there's no real end to it in terms of the longevity of my law firm. And so I'm looking at the future. And a recent phenomenon over the last few years has been artificial intelligence. And a lot of seminars I've been to, and this was even maybe 4 years back, I think it was just post-COVID, just right in there, all the rage is with artificial intelligence. And people were talking about that at the seminars I was going to back then, is here comes AI. How do you use AI in your law firm? Now, most of these seminars were centered around personal injury firms, and so they're looking at AI in different ways because they do the demand packages and they do all this stuff, and it's repetitive, and they're looking for ways to use AI. But I was thinking about this, and I remembered that years ago, all the rage was social media. And I remember Facebook specifically, because this was pre-TikTok, pre-Instagram, pre-whatever else there is that maybe I don't even know about. It was Facebook. And I was an active member in the Chamber of Commerce. I served on some committees. I was on the board of the chamber in Myrtle Beach and that sort of thing. And so they would have these business seminars or business symposiums. So we go to the convention center and they have the booth set up and they have classes and different things. So at that time, and I don't know when this was, whenever Facebook just in the very beginning started becoming popular, and it was seen as some type of, cutting edge thing for business. And I remember going in and sitting through these classes and listening to the people talk. And their takeaway at that time was that Facebook really was not relevant to business. And you look at it now with the Facebook ads and all of the reels and the videos and all the things, but they didn't see it. And the reason they didn't see it is they made a good point. They said, Facebook is a closed-end platform. In other words, the only people that are going to see the stuff that you post are the people that are connected to you as friends. And that's the way it was originally. And I remember somebody making the comment that, because we had bankers and different business people there, and somebody was saying, yeah, who wants to be Facebook friends with a bank, right? You think of the bank, there's a bank. You want to be Facebook friends with a bank? No, you want to go in there, and handle your banking. You don't want to be friends with them. Now, all that's changed drastically, right? But the thing that they didn't see coming, the people that were teaching these classes on social media and whether or not that could help your business, is they didn't see the monetization. They didn't see the development of the ads. They didn't see all of the developments that were going to happen. And so they really discouraged us for even using it, okay? And I remember leaving there thinking, well, because there was kind of an undercurrent of people saying, well, you need to get on Facebook. You need a Facebook page for you. You need a Facebook page for your business. And we were all being encouraged to do this, right? And so they didn't see what was coming. Now, the other thing that the new, flavor of the month or flavor of the year or whatever you want to call it is AI, artificial intelligence. But even prior to that, I remember going to another seminar, and this was a few years, maybe this was a few years ago. I was at the seminar, and they had this guy who's a lawyer, and I think his name is Awad, and he was one of the featured speakers. And the reason he was featured is because, he had gotten out of law school. I think it was in Georgia. He didn't really, I don't think he had a job. I don't know. He might have just didn't have a position where he could go to work. I don't know what he was trying to do. So he's out there by himself, no clients, no money, nothing. And then he and his brother started making TikTok videos. And these TikTok videos at the time, people like me, my children, I remember we were driving in the car one time and my girls were in the back seat and they asked their mother, Mom, do you even know what TikTok is? And she said, yeah. And she did like the sound TikTok, like she knew what it was. Well, she didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was. And they were in the back of the car giggling and laughing. They knew what it was. But then lawyers, you think of lawyers that are, 40, 50, 60 years old, what relevance does a platform that these young teenagers, not preteens, but certainly teenagers, giggling girl teenagers in the back seat that are on TikTok, how is that relevant? Well, no one thought it was relevant, but this lawyer, Awad, he started doing these TikTok videos, and I think what he did, and I heard him speak it once or twice, I think what he did is he started analyzing car wrecks. So he would get footage just off the internet where the cameras on the highway or whatever showed an accident, and then he would show the accident. So that has this dramatic effect. Nobody wants to be in an accident. There is an accident on the side of the highway and we're riding by, the way they call it, the rubberneckers, everybody's looking at it. Because it's so interesting and terrifying. None of us want to be in an accident. We wonder if they're okay. So he would have these car crashes, these real car crashes, and then he would talk about who was at fault, and he would talk about it in terms of an injury claim. And so the guy blew up, so much so that he started monetizing it, started making money. And I remember being at the seminar and there was some question and answer period. And so I asked him because I was curious. I'm in the audience. He's talking about this. I was having difficulty seeing how this relates to a law practice because the same thing is, it's just like if you have a podcast for criminal law and you practice in Georgia and you have people following you in Canada and in the 49 other states, but you only practice in Georgia, then your audience is not really potential clients. So how good is that effort and how is that going to work for you? Now, it can work for you if you become an authority and those type of things. But what he did, excuse me, is he created a referral network. He created a marketing system so that as these people, so somebody in Arizona is contacting his law firm because they see him as an authority on car wrecks because he's built up this following. And I haven't checked this in years, but he had a huge following. His videos were going viral. And so he was a sensation for these personal injury lawyers. Everybody wanted to get in on this. Everybody wanted to get on what's the cutting edge, what's the new cutting edge, because at that time I think Facebook, they had changed the algorithm so that nobody could see your posts anymore because they wanted you to buy an ad. So they just kind of shut all that down so that you had to buy ads. And then TikTok comes along and it's a wide open platform. And I think to this day right now as I'm talking, I think it still is. And so his videos could go viral. He could get a following and he could amass a following. So basically what he's doing, I think, is that So somebody gets in a car wreck in Arizona, maybe it's even a catastrophic thing, a very serious case, and so they contact his law firm in Georgia, but then he creates a network, so he refers that case to a lawyer who has an arrangement with in Arizona, and that's the way it works. So now he's feeding these cases to these personal injury lawyers, and he handles personal injury lawyers himself in his law firm, I think. So what he's done is he's created a marketing platform and an association throughout the country. And I assume he's still successful and he's still doing it. So there again, that's the cutting edge of somebody who, out of necessity, because he didn't have anything else to do, that he took a platform and started doing that. So that's this cutting edge idea. And as I've gone to the seminars, and this in the past with a lot of people that own these personal injury law firms, they're always looking for that. And so now, what are they looking for? They're looking for AI. They're looking for artificial intelligence solutions. And for the last several years, that's all that anybody really talks about, or that's the only thing that gets people excited. And a friend of mine, Ken Hardison, owns PILMMA. He has set up a seminar, and I think it's in a few months from now, and the name of it is AI for PI. And it's very popular. Apparently, they have over 100-something people signed up for it now, and it's still a couple of months away, because people want to know what's the cutting edge, what's the next thing. Because if you don't keep up with technology, there's a term, it's called creative destruction. I think that's the economic term, creative destruction. Why do things not exist anymore? It's because the technology made them obsolete. A good example, which we all know, is Netflix with streaming versus Blockbuster with renting out, VHS tapes. Now, at the time, Blockbuster ruled the whole movie rental industry, and that was a very innovative company. And that was a huge company and very successful. And they were, in every town and wherever you went throughout the country, you could go in with your membership, and rent the video. Then what happens? Streaming happens. Blockbuster doesn't see it coming. I think Blockbuster had an opportunity to buy Netflix at the time, but they didn't think streaming was the future. So essentially they went out of business. We know these stories from different companies and things where that happens, where they don't embrace the future. IBM, didn't embrace, I think it was the future of the personal computer. They just didn't see it. But other people saw it. Microsoft, Bill Gates saw it. Apple, Steve Jobs saw it. Michael Dell Computers, and others, they saw it. So this creative destruction happens in these industries, and we all know this. And so we don't want it to happen to us. So we want to be on the cutting edge of AI. Now, an interesting thing as I studied this and looked at it was Jeff Bezos' comments. Because if you think about Amazon, to me, Amazon is certainly on the cutting edge of technology. They do more, better, faster for more people than almost any company, in the world. They're an extraordinarily agile, tech-savvy company, okay? Now, there's more to it than that, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So when I look at the artificial intelligence, one of the things I'm exploring right now is using the artificial intelligence searches, because it's here. It's not coming. It's here. If you do a Google search, you'll get the summary, the AI summary, and then you can do a deeper dive. Already, there are a number of people who are using, say, the Chat GPT subscription. So they pay the subscription every month, and they're using that to search for criminal defense law firms. And if you look at it, if you do that search, do you come up? Are you being seen? Because if you've, like me, and you spent the last, 2 decades or whatever it is, making sure that my search engine optimization was right, making sure my SEO was right, making sure that my office had, the stuff on the Google business site that it needs to have, making sure my other offices are verified, that they show up on the maps, making sure that we're getting, good positive reviews, making sure we're adding content to that. So is that still relevant? Will that just go away? The other thing is, Google has put us all in this position where we have to buy ads because Google drives, the original, organic searches, drives it down the page. Then they put the maps on, and then that was at the top. Now they've driven that down the page. Then they had the pay-per-click ads, which, drove that down the page. And then they come out with the LSAs, the local service ads, which drives that down the page. So when you look at Google, the first 3 categories are monetized. And so if you're sitting there marketing your law firm and all of a sudden, like Blockbuster, you wake up and you've been following this strategy of how to be found, because criminal defense, no one thinks they're going to get arrested. No one expects it. It's same as getting in a car wreck. If somebody's going to get a divorce, they're thinking like, I've had enough of this. I think I'm going to divorce my spouse, okay? Or they find out, their spouse is having an affair or something, and they get mad, and they're thinking like, I want a separation. But there's a time period. If somebody's thinking about having a trust created for their grandchildren or their children, or thinking about, getting their wills updated, there's a time period for that. They're thinking about it. It's not something that it's unexpected. The person walks around thinking, I need to update my will. I need to update my will. They're not thinking like, I wonder if I'm going to get arrested. No one thinks they're going to get arrested. Even people who run criminal enterprises, for some reason, don't seem to think they're going to get arrested one day. So with Google and with the search and with the instant need to find a lawyer, because it's this thing that happens, it's a shock, turns the person's world upside down. Now they're looking for a lawyer. So the search is key to that. So if you look at the AI searches, and there are others besides ChatGPT, I think there's Claude, and then there's the Gemini search with Google, and there's 2 or 3 others, and they're all vying to get that. Now, right now, if you search for a lawyer on the artificial intelligence platform like ChatGPT, guess what? There are no ads. It's just information. Now, how good is that information? It's good. It's okay. It's not great. So what do you have to do to make sure that as Google either adopts the AI searches, as they've done, or other platforms rise up and make Google obsolete? Because now all of a sudden, the PageRank, I think it was Larry Page, PageRank, Google platform, the algorithm that created the greatest, search algorithm ever. And that's why we all use it. That's why everyone does it. That's why you say Google it. So now you have something else. And that's why Google's in this race for this AI technology. Because now all of a sudden, almost overnight, enough people could just search on another platform, ChatGPT. That's how they're going to find information. I find myself using the AI searches more and more. Now, what do you do to get found in AI? It's different than getting found with a normal Google search. And there's certain things. It's called a schema, and there are different technical parts for it, because your marketing to be found online needs to be developed according to what AI is looking for. So this is all very important. Also, workflow is important, but from my point of view, looking at AI for criminal defense lawyers, it's mostly search. It's not that artificial intelligence is going to replace my lawyers and my paralegals. Maybe that's coming. I don't know. Maybe I'll have robots that are talking to potential new clients, but I don't see that right now. So this is coming, and it's important. But when I was looking at this and studying this, one of the things that I found was what Jeff Bezos had said about the success of Amazon. And he was talking about the same things that I've been talking about. What's the technology? What is the cutting edge technology? What should you be aware of? What's going to change? What creative destruction through technology is going to make what we're doing or how we function? What's going to make it obsolete? But Bezos said, and he credited this as one of the keys to the success of Amazon. He said something to the effect that when they're thinking about the future of Amazon, they're also thinking about what doesn't change. Obviously, they're a technological company. They're a technology advanced company. So that he's not saying you don't pay attention to that, but he's saying he looks at what doesn't change, what will never change, what will remain constant. And basically he said low prices, everybody loves low prices. He doesn't expect that to change. Fast, reliable delivery. Everybody likes getting the delivery fast. Everybody likes a reliable delivery. Everybody likes the ability to make a return. Everybody likes the ability to see when it's coming. And then they create these distribution centers. They open one in Myrtle Beach. So we order something on Amazon, and they bring it in 2 hours. We just ordered it, and it's on the door in 2 hours. Or we order it at 10 o'clock at night, and the thing shows up at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's fast, reliable delivery, and then vast selection. So he says low prices, fast, efficient delivery, and vast selection. He said they focus on that. That's not going to change. In his opinion, that will never change. So he says we focus on that. We focus on improving the things, not in terms of necessarily technology, but what will never change. What does our ideal customer like? We focus on that. So if you look at my law firm, what will never change? I think like this calming reassurance. When people contact us, they're reassured and feel better that we can make this tragedy either go away completely or make it a lot better. Communication. So they don't have questions that go unanswered. They know if they have to go to court, they know if we're going to get court wiped out, so they never have to go, and we communicate with them. And then I think customer experience, which a lot of it is also being responsive. You know, you contact our law firm, you get an answer. And when I was talking to, I was actually not talking to Ken Hardison. He gave me a bunch of materials, and I was reading a book that he wrote years ago, and I think I just had like the notes or the rough draft of it. And he talked about when he surveyed his law firm clients to find out what they liked. It wasn't even the results so much. It was how they were treated and how they felt, you know, that they were cared about and that somebody was really trying to help them. The customer experience, you know, trumped, was more important than even the outcome. And that was something that I struggled with in my law firm for years because I got great results, but I had a terrible customer experience. That's important. So focus on the technology. Don't get left behind, but also pay attention to and improve the parts that will never change. Focus on what criminal defense law firm clients will always treasure, what they will always want. And so anticipate the future, but don't forget to focus on the constants that will be here well into the future, maybe forever, the things that will never change, the things that people will never stop wanting. Improve those things, and then you'll improve and ensure the success of your law firm. If you'd like to know more, I'm Greg McCollum, the founder of Prosper at Law, criminal defense lawyer coaching and masterminds. You can reach out to me anytime. You can go to my website, schedule a call, prosperatlaw.com, schedule a call. There's a calendar there. I'll be happy to talk to you about how you can change your life and we can improve your law firm and get you the success and the less stress and get you in the lifestyle that you deserve. Thanks for listening. See you next time.
If you want to know more, go to prosperatlaw.com. We show criminal defense law firm owners how to reduce stress, have more free time, and make more money. Thanks for listening.